During the course of freshman English, we read a series of books. There were some I liked and some I didn't like at all. One of my favorite books we read was Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. The character I will be giving a 3-minute eulogy about is Melinda Sordino, the main character. I enjoyed following Melinda on her journey throughout the story. I like this book because it is so real. It takes place in a real high school with real people, real conflicts, etc. She goes through real-life situations that might not always be easy for her to deal with. For example, not having a lot of friends, not having a good relationship with her parents, not having a good relationship with her teachers, struggling in school, and being put in situations where she doesn't know what to do, or who to tell, or who to trust, such as being raped. A fond memory I remember with Melinda is when she was sitting in her art class, and they were all picking things to draw out of a giant globe. The drawing that Melinda chose was a tree. That brings back a lot of bad memories for her. One night at a party when she was with her guy friend, he had a little too much to drink that night, and he pressured her to do something that she wasn't ready for. This involves a tree, because that is where all of this happened. So now every time she is in art class drawing a tree, the memory pops back up into her brain, and she becomes all depressed and sad, and she feels like she is a terrible person even though it wasn't her fault. She asked the teacher if she could pick a new drawing, and he asked why, but she didn't want to tell him because it is a personal thing. There are many more memories I have with Melinda, but that is the one I can remember the most. Melinda is a good person. She seems nice to everyone when she talks to them, but at first she comes off as a more laid-back, antisocial person, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It can be stressful because then she won't have anyone to talk to when she needs to, and she won't have anyone to trust, but you can't really trust anyone these days. Also, it could be a good thing that she is more laid back because it gives her the time and space to focus on other things, such as her grades and her family, even though right now those two things aren't going very well for her. I think Melinda will be remembered as the loner in high school. In the beginning of the book, she seems like she has such a rough life and she doesn't know what to do anymore, but in the middle of the book, it slowly starts to get better. She still gets made fun of by the cheerleaders and her ex-best friends, and she still gets harassed for what had happened that one night at the party, but everyone makes mistakes and no one has the right to judge her for it, especially because it wasn't her fault. People these days are so rude. They say things and they might be joking around and they might be serious. You can never tell anymore. A lot of people take it to heart and they can hurt themselves because they don't feel like they are a good enough person because of the mean things everyone says or does to them. Typical high schoolers. I see it every day in my high school. Kids being harassed because of something they are wearing or something they say or do. You can't walk into any high school and not get judged for something, and I think that is exactly how Melinda feels. In the end of the book, it seems like she gets her life back on track, and she has a pretty good idea of where she's headed. Also, towards the end of the book, she fixes the broken relationships with her friends and family, and everything starts to fall in the right place. If I ever got the chance to talk to Melinda, I would tell her that I give her 100% credit for staying strong through everything and not letting anything get to her. Overall, Speak was one of my favorite books that we read in Freshman English 9.